actually saving Mr. McMahon's head.
WWE might be the only company in the world where you can shave the chairman bald while millions of people are watching. And if it can happen to Vince McMahon, the same unfortunate fate might await anyone on the roster. With time ticking down to the hair versus hair match between Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose at SummerSlam, I'm Rick Ucchino. Here are 5 WWE superstars who were forced to shave off their hair. Number 5, Kevin Nash. Standing at about 7 foot tall, weighing over 300 pounds, Big Daddy Cool has always been an intimidating character. However, one wrestler he could not intimidate was Chris Jericho. Back in 2003, Nash and Jericho were deep into a feud that was taking many twists and turns, and their rivalry further heated up when Y2J challenged Big Sexy to a hair versus hair match. Now, in the lead up to that matchup, Jericho actually tried to weasel out of the stipulation that he had suggested, but Nash made sure that did not happen. And from a storyline standpoint, he would regret it. Jericho ended up winning that match on Raw thanks to some of his usual sly tactics, and the WWE Universe witnessed Jericho clumsily chop huge chunks of Nash's blonde locks away. In reality, though, losing the hair versus hair match was actually a cover, as Nash needed a shorter haircut for his upcoming role in the 2004 Punisher movie. Number 4, CM Punk. From 2009 to 2010, Punk was one of the biggest heels in WWE, leading up to the creation of the Straight Edge Society, featuring him, Serena, Joey Mercury, and Luke Gallows. One of his arch nemesis at the time was Rey Mysterio. The former World Heavyweight Champion was hell-bent on having Mysterio in the Straight Edge Society, and the two would end up having a series of matches against one another. To finally put the ever-rising tension between them to bed, a hair vs. Straight Edge Society pledge was booked at Over the Limit. An intense back-and-forth match later, Mysterio would emerge the winner, and immediately set to shearing the locks off the loudmouth leader Punk. Quite obviously, the WWE Universe was very delighted to see the leader of the Straight Edge Society finally get what he deserved. Number 3, Molly Holly. Back in 2004, Holly lost her women's championship to Victoria on Raw, and that sparked a very intense feud between the two superstars. This led to the pair taking part in a hair versus title match at WrestleMania 20. By the way, it's now known the idea was actually pitched to Vince McMahon by Molly Holly herself. According to Holly, she was determined to do something big and memorable at WrestleMania to showcase that women athletes deserve similar limelight as their male counterparts. At the grandest stage of them all, Victoria managed to keep hold of her title and her hair, while Holly was not so lucky. Now, she desperately tried to avoid the stipulation, even attempting to run away from her foe, but in the end, Victoria got her hair. Following WrestleMania, Holly tried to disguise her new do on television by using a variety of wigs, and that might be something that Sonya Deville or Mandy Rose should take note of. Number 2, arguably the most famous haircut of all time, belongs to Vince McMahon. In the lead up to WrestleMania 23, WWE promoted a hair versus hair match between owner Vince McMahon and, yes, the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. It was dubbed the Battle of the Billionaires. Now, the two men were not actually fighting one another. Instead, they were represented by a member of the roster. McMahon had the Intercontinental Champion Umaga in his corner, while the president had ECW champion Bobby Lashley. Needless to say, the WrestleMania clash was very chaotic. It was originally supposed to be refereed by special guest Stone Cold Steve Austin. However, the Texas Rattlesnake fell victim to an attack by Umaga and was replaced by Vince McMahon's own son, the best in the world, Shane McMahon. Of course, he acted very favorably to his father's representative, and it made it look like the Donald might lose those signature locks. That was until Austin made his comeback. After hitting Shane McMahon with his signature stunner at ringside, Lashley ended up picking up the victory. Following the match, Trump and Lashley unleashed the foam and razors on the head of Mr. McMahon, buzzing him completely bald in front of thousands. Now, when it came to McMahon's post-WrestleMania appearances on WWE programming, he would often wear an array of hats to hide his new haircut from the fans worldwide. And number 1, Kurt Angle. Up until 2002, Kurt Angle and Edge were friends. However, their equation gradually changed after WrestleMania 18, when Angle was insisting that he was in fact the best that there was in WWE. Now, Angle would lose a match to his former ally, and that would escalate the tension between the two of them. They faced off in a series of matches following that, and they both came off looking very strong, which is something that infuriated Angle, and to settle the matter, they decided to square off in a hair versus hair match at Judgment Day. After an entertaining back-and-forth contest, the Rated R Superstar would emerge victorious, and he would have the honor of shaving the head of his rival. After the humiliating loss, Angle wore a wig on TV for a while. The wigs he wore, just flat out terrible, and often were held to his head by a piece of wrestling gear. As a short-lived skit, Angle's opponents would often try to remove his wig before the Olympic hero finally embraced his iconic bald look. And that's our list this time around. Make sure to give us the old thumbs up there. Oh, and by the way, while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel for more content like this and exclusive interviews and so much more.